huge spoilers, but we have data mined the actual ending with the World 3 as well as the new aspects joining, which essentially signifies the ending of the Dragonflight storyline, at least the Dragon Side 1. Furthermore, we have the likelihood of the Emerald Dream Zone that is going to be teleported right to the left of the Neran Plains with heavy hints of a new Night Elven city. We have new achievements that further hint that 10.2 is actually going to be the final major patch of the expansion, at least story-wise. On the other hand, we do have some other hints that could potentially signal that 10.3 could happen from new mounts, as well as some really loosely worded interviews, but at the moment, signals are mixed. So what is this Datamine 10.2 ending? Is Farak really the final boss of Dragonflight, and what is even going on? While Farak is definitely doing something sinister, people have been doing sinister things with your private info and using it with malicious intent, and you can stop that right now with this video sponsor, Aura. People have been making fake accounts with my info and it is not fun, but Aura is not just your run-of-the-mill protection service, it is your shield against the unseen forces that are trying to get your data. Aura handles the removal of your private info from the internet, it protects your personal information, there's a VPN, a password manager, amongst other features, so let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe so that your private info remains just that, private. Best of all, you can try Aura completely free for 2 weeks with my link in the description, so you can let people profit off your private info online, or you can go to aura.com/doronsmovies and start your free trial today. So, huge things are actually happening, and keep in mind, this isn't just my speculation. We have legit data mined a whole bunch of new things, as the 10.2 PTR has been out for at least a week now. So, not only do we have official interviews from Blizzard that are all over the place, but we got new spells that pretty much confirm the ending of 10.2. We have hints of the next expansion, the possibility of 10.2 being the final patch, or 10.3 happening, although that doesn't really seem likely with all the other hints. So, a completely expected thing has happened in 10.2, which I really do feel like was way too predictable, and that is that Viranaut turned against the Primal Incarnates. I also feel like it happened way too suddenly, as in, you know, Viranaut hated Alexstrasza completely, what you did to our people. Alexstrasza told her, come joining us, and she's like, yeah, no problem, I mean, these Incarnates are crazy. Anyway, despite being imprisoned by Alexstrasza for like 20,000 years, I really feel like that transition happened way too early. I would expect at least one more patch of story development for this. However, there is a new questline where Wrathion is teaming up with Viranaut herself to recruit the Netherwing Dragons of Outland to help us defend the Mirdrasil, and we're also getting the Storm Dragons that you might know from Stormheim to also help us defend the World 3, which means that these guys are finally going to get some story development after all these years. Interesting enough, we still don't know what exactly is going on, like 100%. Farak isn't here to burn the World 3 so that he can spite the Night Elves, he is here to steal the essence of it, and we don't really know what that means exactly, like what is the essence, what is he trying to steal, and who is he really working for, as at the moment, it really seems like he's being possessed by the Void. It has been previously heavily foreshadowed that the Emerald Dream is connected to Ardenweald and vice versa. That is why we planted a seed from Shadowlands in the Emerald Dream. However, what is the most interesting news is that we know that the World 3 will actually be transitioning into the Material Plane. That is why everyone and their mother is trying to evade it right now, as the process is happening at the moment. It is also quite predictable. I really couldn't see the final hope of the Night Elves being destroyed, although you never really know with Blizzard and Night Elf inviting. So we've had all these speculations about the Emerald Dream, we've visited it on so many occasions, but it was always through some sort of a proxy instance or some super limited version. But now we are going into the real deal, and what is a huge hint is what this map really is when you pay closer attention. The hint that we've talked about at the start of Dragonflight all the way back into Alpha, you can watch the video on my channel about how the tree will be planted near the Oneran Plains, maybe completely right over a year later. The Emerald Dream Zone is literally the western side of the Oneran Plains. I mean, you can see that from this little island. This means that this entire zone is probably hidden, and it will literally appear like the dream is just shrouding it within the Material Plane. A Mirdrasil is planted in this place, and it is probably just going to spawn on the Dragon Isles at the end of this patch. However, let's break away from the speculations, let's get into the biggest hint, and keep in mind, spoilers, this literally reveals how the storyline of 10.2 ends. We have data mined a spell called the Great Dragons that says this: Alexstrasza, Kalecgos, Viranaut, Abyssian, Nosdormu, and Meritra arrive to receive the blessing of a Mirdrasil, which pretty much confirms that the World 3 is going to actually be saved, but what is interesting is that this time they are the ones being blessed by the World 3 itself. As you may know by the original lore, it was the dragon aspects that granted immortality and blessed Nordrassil, but here the aspects are probably going to become aspects once again. Interesting enough, definitely not Titan aspects, but just aspects of Azeroth, which will definitely transition into the storyline of the next expansion. However, you might have noticed something with these names that I've listed, and that is that we have a new aspect here, the 6th one, which is also yet another speculation that has been confirmed. Alexstrasza is the red, Kalecgos is the blue, Abyssian is the black, Nosdormu the bronze, Meritra the green, and Viranot, the, I don't know what color, probably the primal color, the Proto-Dragon aspect, which means that Viranot was indeed turned into an aspect. This also gives us further hints. First is that Nosdormu might not actually fall, the entire Morozon thing might not happen, although we don't know if it will happen in the future. Second is that Alexstrasza became the new aspect, and the Tyr betrayal is probably going to happen later, as I feel like the storyline is going to be all about the Titan Order and breaking away the Titan Order, like splitting away the dragons and the Titans. My entire idea is that these new aspects are going to be separate from the Titan Order aspects. That is why they got a new blessing, probably from Elune herself. This is going to be split away from the Titans, and that of course makes sense with Viranot and how Alexstrasza said she will make things right, how she doesn't like what she did in the name of the Titans. That is for the World 3, but we have further data mine hints for Dragonflight ending. So first is that we know Farak is going to be the final boss of 10.2. We have official confirmation for that. We know he will be an actual boss fight. However, we still don't know whether he will be defeated or not. The biggest debate right now is whether 10.2 is going to be the final patch, and that at the moment is a super hot topic as we have hints all over the place. So first off, when I say final patch, I mean the final major patch. We'll almost certainly get 10.2.5 and 10.2.7, which might still contain quite a bit of new storyline, new events that could happen, new features. Keep in mind, I mean, they had the entire Bronze Dragonflight story in one of these small patches. At the moment, a lot of things are pointing that there won't be a 10.3, but it isn't completely impossible. First of all, in 10.1.7, 11.0 pre-orders were already data mined. To me, that is really strange when they would add them so early, because this essentially confirms that the next expansion will be announced on BlizzCon. 10.2 at the moment seems like quite a wrap-up of the entire storyline that he's been building since 10.0. The aspects are getting their blessings, reunited, Farak defeated, Virna joins us, Raza get defeated, only Iridikron remains, and his crazy plan really seems like it is set to unleash the next expansion, not just a single patch, especially with Xal'atath appearing in the background. If we didn't get Xal'atath in that cinematic, I would expect that Iridikron could end soon, but this obviously signifies bigger things happening behind the scenes, especially with Azshara and all the void hints that are everywhere. It will make sense that the storyline is wrapped up, at least the main one, so that we can know where we will go in the next expansion. This Iridikron thing is really supposed to be like the big final battle, the big reveal, and I doubt they will keep that a mystery and then announce 11.0, which by all accounts should be a pretty big expansion. Only thing I could see happening is that they announced 10.3 and 11.0 on BlizzCon, and Iridikron unleashes something, and we know what in the next expansion, but we have to deal with him first, which is going to be 10.3 in the next patch. This would honestly make sense. However, what doesn't make that much sense is what would we do in 10.2.5, 10.2.7, as well as 10.3.5 and 10.3.7. I feel like there's just way too much stuff, seeing like how much they actually wrapped up the story in 10.2 with all the dragon stuff. However, speculations aside, we have data mined these new achievements just added in 10.2, which kind of signal that the chapters talking about the major factions, with the last one being Friends of the Dream, it seems like this is the final chapter of the expansion. I mean, they could still add another one, of course, in the achievement, but at the moment, it really does seem like this could be it. Now, on the 10.3 positive side, there are some counter hints. First is that Blizzard's 20th anniversary is going to be late next year, which is usually when Blizzard releases expansions anyway, and that would be like the perfect release timing. That could make just enough time for 10.2 mini patches, 10.3 and its derivatives. However, I do feel like it will be a bit too long of a wait. I mean, do you remember that Blizzard released Dragonflight like half a year after the announcement? We had the alpha 2 months later, future, so it is definitely possible we could get the next expansion mid-next year if they announce it on this year's BlizzCon, maybe even April or May. Another hint is some mounts for datamine that could potentially signal that a new season will be happening, and that could signal 10.3 in turn, but at the moment it isn't really that strong of a hint, as we had something similar with Shadowlands and nothing really happened. Interesting enough though, Blizzard did an interview and they vaguely told us that we should expect a major patch following the Guardians of the Dream, but they never specifically stated that it is going to be 10.3 exactly. Keep in mind, we're definitely in for at least 2 mini patches that could still count as major content, and they could still be a lot of stuff packed into them. So these two could help us tie the loose ends from Dragonflight, maybe with getting the Night Elves a new home and actually dealing with these things, and they could also be connecting the next expansion that we still don't really know what it is going to be about. So these two can have something with that, and that it could tie in with the pre-patch and ultimately 11.0. However, we know for certain that the Mirror Seal is saved, it blesses the dragon aspects instead of the dragon aspects blessing it, they get their powers back, and Farak is probably going to be defeated as he is a boss fight and he could potentially be the final boss. However, this opens a whole nother door for new content, Titan, crazy stuff happening, and the next expansion. Thank you for watching. Check out this possible leaked image for the next cinematic for 11.0, and check out my video on Sonic Pirates and Vikings on the second channel and real world history by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.